This is a crazy HOA story with a massive update of illegal businesses and fines, and oh man, you gotta hear this. It's called Revenge of the Roomba. Get ready. So I moved into a downstairs apartment that's fairly soundproof. I haven't heard a sound from my neighbors to the sides, and my next door neighbor only occasionally hears her very large upstairs neighbors. But mine, oh boy, I lucked out. Even though the apartment expressly forbids it, they've run several illegal and noisy from-home businesses out of their apartment upstairs, furniture making and commercial cooking being the loudest. They also wear cowboy boots in the apartment while stomping around until 2 a.m., all while making furniture or loudly unpacking and running industrial kitchen equipment till that time as well. Every time I finally prove to the HOA that they're running a particular business, well, they just switch it up. I've also tried reaching out to them, but they've pretended that they couldn't speak English. I've seen them speak to others in perfect English. Their recent venture has what sounds like a router running for 5 to 8 hours a day. Still stomping in cowboy boots though. They've banged and stomped and whatever so loud that my dishes rattle and my ceiling shakes. But now, just recently, they stop at 10 p.m. because the main couple had a baby and they go to sleep earlier. So tonight, my petty evil plan begins. I moved my bedroom from under theirs into my office. In my old bedroom, I've placed random wooden boards that butt right up against the ceiling. Each board is of a different thickness for maximum screwery and sound difference. I then closed the door to that room and set my Roomba loose in it. This isn't a new style one that maps a room. This is the old school heavy Terminator style that just bangs into things until it dies. I'm now sipping on a whiskey sour in my bed while giggling every time I hear a new board vibrating straight into their floor at 1 a.m. Big update time. So it's been a long, odd war. The Roomba board resonance forest got an immediate reaction. The upstairs neighbors went to the HOA to complain about me running industrial machinery all night. They also said that I was, quote, not a very nice man, end quote. The HOA suggested that we have a mediation meeting, which I was all for. I told the HOA that I had plenty of evidence to present, but this meant that I very quickly had to take down my Roomba forest because part of this mediation is to check both apartments. After about a week or so, suddenly the idea of a mediation meeting went away. The HOA would be of no help. I was told that I would have to directly deal with the management group that managed the upstairs unit. After calling the management group, I was basically told that there was no proof of them running any sort of business and that I would have to just deal with what is usual upstairs noise. During this time, the upstairs neighbors also get a puppy that they leave alone and don't walk, so it constantly cries. When I bring this up to the management group, I'm told, well, it's a service animal, so drop it. I am clearly losing every battle. So I am become Karen. I emailed the management group asking them what would be considered excessive noise. For example, if my dishes are rattling at 1 a.m. or banging so loud that echoes can be heard. They agree, yeah, that would be excessive. I researched the management group as well, and it turns out the owner of the group is married to someone on the HOA. Seems like a conflict of interest there. I buy a directional microphone that captures bass pretty well and some editing software. I begin near constant recording on a spare phone. Every time I hear a boom, I stop the recording and I mark the time. Meanwhile, I call several agencies involved with animal and human disabilities. Turns out that making a false claim about a service animal in my area carries a $600 fine. I notify the animal agencies that there's a service animal being neglected, and the human disabilities agencies that there may be someone falsely claiming a disability. After getting a month's worth of recordings of loud booms that echo, dish rattling, stomping, and loud, odd electrical noises at 1 a.m., I edit together a 7-minute long film of all the sounds, with timestamps posted. I also hike the bass way up. I emailed the video clip to both the management group and the HOA, requesting that this video be reviewed immediately, implying that I've emailed both since the two, supposedly individual groups, are all for intents and purposes the same because of the marriage. The management group finally admits that, yes, this is excessive noise, and they will be speaking with the tenants about after-hours noise and excessive banging. The noise dies down, but not completely. Yet. I mentioned to the HOA and housing management that I've also started a complaint about the loud, neglected puppy. I tell them that I've notified them because they may want to have the proper paperwork in order, as making false claims is a $600 fine. I mean, I don't know who would pay the fine. It could be anyone that's made the claim. And suddenly, the dog is gone. I really hope the scumbags at least rehouse the dog responsibly. The final stroke is that I've taken advice, and at the start of all this, I've contacted the health department. At first, they seemed to be of little help, saying that they would look into it. Right after the management group finally admits that the noise is excessive, I get a call from the health department. 3 calls, actually. They inform me that, after reviewing my report and findings of their own, that there does seem to be a legitimate concern, that they will be contacting the neighbors upstairs. The next call from the health department is them telling me that they have issued a cease and desist to the upstairs neighbors, also telling me that if I notice anything that shows that they're still running a commercial kitchen, to notify them. I still hear the occasional loud footsteps, but no more entire days of banging, industrial equipment, stomping and hammering, and food loading and unloading. In fact, they are now gone most of the day. I'm assuming running an illegal kitchen somewhere else out of someone else's home, because I have seen them occasionally move a bunch of commercial-grade kitchen equipment from their apartment into a van. I won't lie, the truly petty revenge part of me wants to follow them one day to see where they have the new kitchen and where they're selling the food so that I can report them again. Don't you just love whenever you get abused by this HOA here and you fight back? I mean, the OP got some balls to be able to do this, right? This takes guts. What would have you done? Lawyer up, or am I wasting money? Posted by No Escape Plan. I've posted about this issue before, but I'm not sure what kind of action I could take to deal with the HOA president. We apparently have rules state no residents should park in the guest parking spots. A few months back, I parked in one due to an issue with my garage door, and at the time, the enforcement wasn't there, as a few neighbors were parking in those spots daily with no citations. But guess who received one? Me. And since then, supposedly a parking enforcement committee was established. One person is running it. A young dude with a nasty attitude, the kind that once upon a time didn't clean up after his dog, and the same HOA president berated him, called him names, and threatened to expose him. Go figure, they somehow made up. Fast forward, this person saw me parking in the guest parking. I did it deliberately because I'm tired of the bullying. I only went inside my residence to grab something, and I'm going to leave within 5 minutes. I come out, and this guy is hostile, telling me I can't park. Well, I said, fair enough, but a few minutes do not constitute abuse. The bylaws aren't specific. I said, no worries, and I proceed to ask him, why is it only an issue with my vehicle, and yet every other car is allowed, specifically one that parks in the closest guest parking to my house? The guy happens to be his direct neighbor. His excuse is he never sees the car parked there due to his work schedule. Complete bullcrap. I've seen you see him drive by while the car is parked in the guest and no one bats an eye. I've sent numerous letters to the HOA about this selective enforcement with no replies. I contacted the HOA president weeks ago. She replied and denied selective enforcement and stated the vehicles in question have been given 2 weeks' notice to not park there. It's been a month and they still park there. The owner of that vehicle sits in his car and smokes MJ that fills up the street. Walking up to my house, it's everywhere. Plain disrespectful. I'm fed up of the selective enforcement. Attending meetings does absolutely nothing. The president's on a power trip, and I'll never get enough votes to add a board member or amend the rules. I'm entertaining the idea of having a lawyer address them with a letter that'll force a reply. But then what? I can absolutely prove that selective enforcement, as I have time-stamped pictures of the same vehicles over and over in the guest spots, and I have the email stating they won't be parking there after X date, yet they still do. I've heard from some that this will be a losing battle. They'll just continue to harass you even more and start fining for every little thing. Lawyer up or give up. It's a tough situation, but you know what? If you talk to a lawyer and ask them if this is a case that they're willing to take on, that'll let you know what you should do. I'm not a lawyer myself, but definitely they would have more insight on this one. What do you think? Sliding glass door is broken in a condo, and the HOA was responsible for the repair and replacement, but after months, it's still not replaced. Posted by Dukester. So I live with my wife and 6-month-old son in a condo on the 2nd floor, Illinois, 100+ unit, big condo building. We have a sliding glass door that currently does not close completely. We let our management company know months ago that it was not closing. Since then, and a ton of back and forth over the phone and email, they have sent someone out twice to look at it and repair it. P.S. It states clearly in our HOA that they are liable for repair and replacement of all doors and windows. The first guy, their handyman, screwed around with it for a while and then said it absolutely needs to be replaced. 3 weeks later, after sending multiple emails, they finally sent out a contractor to do measurements and order a door. Contractors couldn't believe we've had this door broken and open for so long and agreed that it should have been replaced a long time ago. That was the week of the 4th of July. Since then, and getting way more aggressive in emails to the management company, they wanted to board up the window, which I said absolutely not, as if there's a fire in the hallway, that would be our only way out, and have dragged their feet some more. I contacted the contractors who did the measurements, and they said that they're ready to do it, but they need the green light from the management company. During all this, it's been the hottest summers in a while, and our electric bill from running our AC has skyrocketed. Not to mention if any bugs and other things are getting in. So long story short, what are my options here? Am I just at the mercy of this management company? Can I just go and get the door replaced myself and then charge them? Can I back charge them for my AC being on 24/7 and running up my electric bill? This commenter drops the hammer of truth here, says, I'm on the board of a small community, 132, of single-family homes. If I was on the board in a community like this, I would want to know about this as soon as possible. You have a child, and this is about safety. God forbid something happens, and then the HOA and the management company are sued. Please contact your board ASAP. Good luck and keep us posted. Absolutely escalate this situation, OP. Good luck and be careful. Stalking injunction violated. What's next? Posted by Rivethead99. Let's start from the beginning. Over a year ago, my neighbor started acting weird. I tried being neighborly and conversed with him when he'd engage, but unfortunately, he got too comfortable. One day, I come out to smoke, and parked in front and across my driveway is my neighbor, clearly struggling, unsure what was happening. I asked him if he was okay and if he needed help. I couldn't tell if he was emotional or something else, as he went rambling about everyone being against him and people spying on him. I offered to drive him to the hospital, and he said they were against him too, so I stupidly extended an offer that, if he needed to later, I could take him, and we parted ways. Fast forward to later that night, once again going out for a smoke and talking to the missus, and then she asks, where's the truck? Well, come to find out, the GPS, as it's a company vehicle, he took my truck to a different city hospital 1 hour away. Somewhere in his mind, he took my offer as an invitation to take it, and unfortunately, I left the key in the truck. After that, it all went downhill. He attempted to make amends, but I stuck to myself and stayed friendly from a distance. Hi neighbor, type deal. Apparently, this upset him, and he started hitting my trash can while it was out. I took pictures, and I continued on with my life. And one day, I get home from work, and he starts accusing me of doing something to his yard, and lunacy to the 10th degree. We almost fight, but the missus called the cops before it got to that point. Well, long story short, I get a protection order and stalking injunction against him, and he goes to jail for a bit for a warrant. We got cameras after that incident. Fast forward approximately 6 months, and he's back. Everything is fine for a few months, so I didn't worry about the cameras, and they were off. But then he starts acting funny again, and I can tell he wants to be confrontational and say something to me again. So up go the cameras again, one in the driveway, but that one doesn't have the same features, so another one in the window, both facing the property border. Well, today he puts up a note directed to me, which violates the order, caught on camera. Lots of ramblings about me being a terrible neighbor, that I'm spying on him, and a concerning mention of him claiming I cut my company trailer on a specific date. Well, he went to jail for breaking the order. I'm just worried, as I know sometimes people like this can ramp up even further after you set a hard line. He could be released tonight. What would you do? Is my only course to wait until he violates again, potentially in a more violent manner? Officers said to be cautious, as he's a violent offender and has done time for serious stuff, but this is stressful. Commenter makes a big suggestion and OP replies, "Guy sounds like he's got a mental health disorder and keeps going off his medication. Unfortunately, with paranoid disorders, people often feel like they are cured or that the medication isn't helping, and they go off of it and have an episode. My advice would be, if you have any organization that helps with mental health issues, is to contact them, or even if he may have family, to contact them, and if he keeps coming onto your property, to call the cops each time. It's one thing to have delusions and shout at people and act strangely, but it's another to keep coming into your space to do so." And OP replies, "Yeah, I'm not sure about any diagnosis, but unfortunately from what they've said, he has had substance issues, so it could be either or both. Unfortunately, I don't have any ties to his family, but she seems to baby him as he's 45 living in his grandmother's old house. I think she's at a loss too. Wonder if talking to the grandmother would help. There is a clearly mental health issue here that needs to be fixed, but also the cops need to help keep you safe as well. The cops should definitely be on top of this one." Unpopular opinion, don't get involved with your HOA, posted by Yellow Radio. So, thinking back to my own nightmarish experience with my HOA, with it firmly in the rear view, I realized something. I often talk about it with a friend who is in a condo, one managed by one of the very companies that ran my own condo association, and he gushes over how great they are, and how my own had to be a fluke. He won't deny my experience was awful, but he feels it was just bad luck I ended up in such a horrible condo. I think really where I started to go wrong with things is that I took the typical advice of get involved. Now, I will say a condo association can't work without some involvement by the owners. However, if you're a very deep-thinking individual, annoyed by groupthink, you're not going to do yourself any favors by getting involved with your HOA. Why? Well, 2 reasons I can think of. First, you make yourself known. You were an anonymous owner. Now, your name is on things. It's sort of the secondary version of the "may you live in interesting times" curse. You will now come to the attention of very important people. And secondly, you lift the curtain. You will now see just how screwed up the condo arrangement is in detail. You will now see the petty squabbles, the graft, the waste. All of it is going on, has been going on, likely at every HOA or condo there is. However, now you know about it. Ignorance is truly bliss. Number 1 piece of advice with HOAs and condo boards is to not be in one to begin with. As that gets harder and harder to do, take my advice above and consider. You might be the type of person that, like me, isn't going to do yourself any favors by getting involved. Commenter snaps back, "I disagree. Yeah, there's petty crap to deal with, but if you're involved, you can shut down crappy ideas before they take off. My HOA brings up every year to put a 30K wrought iron fence around our 4 condo buildings. We've got 30 units and low dues, so something dumb like this would drain our reserves when we need to save for roof replacements in a few years. Every year in our annual meeting, I shut that crap down. I'm not allowed in my own yard," posted by Teacup Stocks. We lived in this house for 6 years. Unfortunately, both properties on either side of us were built right on the property line. One house in particular has a good deal of windows looking out over our yard. We have a sprawling yard. The neighbors in that house have always been hostile towards me, but rather than voicing any issues, they've always been passive-aggressive and fairly avoidant. Oftentimes, they are even outright rude, but when they want something, they are polite enough. This couple built a mini home in their backyard and moved a bunch of party people into their main house at the front of the property, the house looking over my yard. And the new people are also very cold toward me. They have rowdy parties, take up all the parking, let their dogs out to pee on my bushes, and do illegal substances on their balcony. The worst part is their whole house overlooks my yard, and their living room window basically looks across my yard and into my kitchen. And we can hear each other, and they'll just say rude comments about the freaking neighbor. and they won't use their blinds even when they should, like when they're naked. The problem stems from a bird feeder I put up. Initially, they put a bunch of rat traps on my fence line. I didn't quite get what they were doing, and they didn't actually say anything. When I saw them and asked, they told me that I was going to attract rats. I told them I have Terminix and I'd take the feeder down every day and that I would be very careful. Then they never said anything about it. Today, which is a few years after I started hanging the feeder, they knocked and asked me to remove it, and I agreed and was really polite about it. But now, I just feel like I can't use my yard. I'm happy to take the feeder down, that's not a problem, but I don't feel like that's her real problem. I feel like no matter what I do, this neighbor seems to have a problem with me in my own yard. She's been rude and hostile for years. My husband and I feel like if we tried to use our yard for any purpose, they would complain or have a problem. Basically, we feel like we couldn't have a barbecue or sit outside without being watched, harassed, or made to feel uncomfortable. I can't even sit on my back porch in the summer afternoon, and it's been like this for years. And to be clear, I've accommodated every request that they've ever made. If the feeder was the real issue, I wish they would have just asked sooner. I really thought things were fine. But I suspect things go deeper than a small bird feeder. After I started doing more yard work, I noticed their hostility seemed to grow, and I feel it contributed to them complaining to me. I feel like I can't even water my yard. Commenter says, and OP replies, put up 10 feeders and some fast-growing evergreens. Check with the town if the guest home is permitted. Stop letting them control your yard. OP replies, you're speaking my language. Seriously though, thanks for the response. I figured the internet would let me know if I was a jerk or if I should just have a barbecue. The HOA finds me, but I'm not even in the HOA. Click the video on your screen so you don't miss the fallout of this one, and I'll see you there.